Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about Palworld, and with me I have Legendary Drops. How are you doing today, Mr. Drops?
Good. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Now, I just streamed Palworld pretty much all day, and I hear you've been playing this game a lot too, yeah?
Yeah. I've been playing it quite a bit. I've been playing it mostly off stream, just because I usually do mostly RPGs and stuff like that over on my channel. But I've been having a blast with it, playing with friends, big group server on one. I got a one with a girlfriend as well. So.
Okay, so you've been playing it quite a bit. I just made a fresh. I'm trying this is probably not a good idea with a buggy new early access game, but I'm trying like a hardcore fresh start to see, if I die, got to delete the server type of situation. And it seems like I'm not the only one playing the game, and you're not the only one playing the game, because we still are at 24-hour peak of 2 million players, and it doesn't seem to be dying, at least not yet. My question for you, the first one is, do you think it's going to last, or do you think it's sort of an Among Us type of situation?
So Palworld's in a really unique position, specifically because of the fact that we actually have no idea what it's going to look like in a few months from now. Largely, this is going to depend on whether or not they do support the game and how well they support it. I realized looking at some of their older games, Craftopia didn't really have a whole lot of support. So there are people that are a little bit cautious about that. If they don't continually update the game and make changes to it and, add more content, then yeah, it's going to probably flop. But if they support it, I can't see a future where the game fails.
Yeah, it makes sense. This is a early access survival game, so people being nervous is kind of makes sense. But that being said, speaking of the future, they are patching stuff. We have fixes to bugs, countermeasures against cheats and exploits. I heard there was hackers. I haven't experienced too much of this, though. My server did get wiped. I had a community server and got wiped, but I heard that might be because of the update, but I also heard hackers were doing that too. So who knows if this was something to fix it. But then I was thinking we could talk about, they have a roadmap already for the game here with, it looks like a significant amount of upcoming improvements. Including PvP, straight up PvP in the moment. Because from my understanding, at the moment, you can't actually raid in the game.
No. So have you played multiplayer at all or no?
Yeah, I had my server, but we were all in the same guild. I haven't really done like the community servers or anything, so I haven't had a chance for if PvP was even a thing that we could experience it. But it's not like Rust at the moment, I believe, so you can't really like raid other people's bases and attack them, or like Ark where you could, for instance.
No. So, obviously the game takes heavy inspiration from games like that, like Rust, Ark, things like that. So them going for that first sounds like probably the best idea for them. But yeah, they need to have more group activities in general. So I'm glad that that's where they're going to go with it immediately, is just trying to add more group. What is it? The first 3, 4? Yeah, the first 4 things on their list are all group related.
Yeah, PvP, raid bosses, which I think is the one I'm kind of the most excited for, in-game content. The game's still in early access and they're adding in-game content, so you got to love that. Pal Arena, PvP for pals. That one probably will be pretty popular as well, I would be thinking. This is
I don't know. Would that? You don't actually have control of the PAL.
Yeah,
so it's really just you kind of
it's
really just you sitting back and watching, Yeah,
no, that's actually kind of a good point I think about. I was thinking everyone Pokemon anyway, the comparison that everyone's going to use is PvP was like a big part of that back in the day. So I was thinking, maybe people would enjoy that, and you could kind of see like who is stronger, and then you compare them and like, okay, well, this guy counters that guy. But I guess it depends upon the implementation of it. They're not really doing turn-based in this game, so I didn't really think about that part.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure. To be honest, I think one of the changes I would like them to see, or like them to make at one point in time, would be to give us a little bit more control over the pals while they're out.
True, because you can only like attack, don't attack, which is pretty much only used for making sure your Pokemon doesn't KO the other one.
So you can ride them, which is cool. And riding them will give you a bunch of different things. Either, if you're on them, they'll sometimes buff your abilities, allow you to be able to do fire damage, water damage, whatever they're attuned to. You'll have the ability to use their abilities if you're on them. But I'd like to be able to have a little bit more control of them when they're just running around. Like, other than I think, because you can only tell them to do one ability if it's unlocked.
can you actually, you can't control the ability. I mean, maybe I haven't got there yet, but you can't control the abilities at all, can you? In terms of like,
Yeah, you can. So certain monsters that you'll get will actually come with abilities that you can choose to, hold the, I think E or F, whatever you're going to bind it to. You can hold the one button and it'll cast that ability. I have a monster called Blaze Ram, I think is what it is. And if I hold that, he'll immediately do this like fire combo where he like rushes in and starts, hitting him with fire moves and stuff
that's
like
cool.
that.
All right, that's news to me. I thought you could only do that if you're like riding them or something, but okay, that's pretty cool. Steam and Xbox
That takes
crossplay.
over. That takes over if they have a harness.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. And then Steam and Xbox crossplay, this is a kind of a common complaint at the moment. You can't play together. And then isn't it true that the Game Pass is like behind on the patch, or did they fix that with the most recent here? The Steam version has been updated on release. Yeah, I guess the Xbox will release as soon as it's ready. So it is the Game Pass.
So the Xbox is lagging behind a little bit just because they can't even do anything more than 4 players to begin with.
Right at the start of it, yeah. It was
they can't do this with 16, 24. How many players is the server?
32, I think, is for the big servers. I think 32. At least that's what I have for my dedicated.
Yeah.
Various Xbox feature improvements, and then we have server transfer mitigations. This is actually a big one for me, to be honest, because it's kind of nice to be able to let's have your character and then go play with a friend. Because I have a friend that wanted to play with me the other day, but it's like, okay, well, if I join your server and you're like 20 or something, like I'm level 1, and I'm pretty much useless. I'm just going to be lagged behind like the entirety of the time. And so that part's...
I think most of the time when I joined other friends, they just cranked up the XP.
Oh, that's smart. Just go into the custom rules, crank the XP. The only custom rule I use basically all standard, but the custom rule I use is the egg. It takes no time. Otherwise, you have to have the incubating egg, which can take like up to 24 hours.
Yeah, no, you got to buff that, dog. Yeah, you can put a heater next to it, and then you can put an ice cube next to it, and then it's rolling.
Yeah, maybe you could. Maybe you could do that.
I'm all about natural birth here.
All right. Fair enough. I mean, for me, I'm all about the instant birth. You know what I mean? Just pop them out the second you get them.
Yeah.
Improvements to building system. I'm not much of a builder, Andy. I know there's lots of people that build. Yeah, you do. You do that. You build the castles and you design the house. And
oh man,
so I think you're stoked about this.
I have about 800 hours in Terraria, so
yeah. Now that is a goated game. I have played that one all the way through.
Yeah. So I mean, I love building in survival games, and I'm gonna be honest, I get triggered when I'm playing with friends and they're just throwing stuff all over the place. I can't stand it, dude. It drives me crazy, and I'm like, if you put it there, then the pals aren't gonna put it in the right box. They're gonna go put it in this random box, and I have a buddy of mine that purposely like takes things out of certain boxes and puts them in different places just to mess with me.
Yeah,
I hate that, by the way.
The POWs are when I built one of the disappointments I had was I built the thing where you stand on it and then you're able to tell them normal or work hard or work super hard or whatever. And I thought that was going to allow me to like individually target, like you go work on this and do not move. But instead it happens to be like the AI is whatever they're kind of near or whatever's recent. So they're kind of just running all over the place.
The AI in this game is bad, dude. It's just bad. Like, honestly, when I'm looking at some of the things that they're changing, like the one thing I want to see is like key, I see they put like key configuration improvements and stuff like that. I just want them to fix the pathing in AI more than anything. Cause like sometimes I get like a dragon that's just like on top of a tree. I'm like, how did you get there? Or like I had a cow that was on top of a tree or on top of my house. And I'm like, I don't even know how that's even there.
How's that possible? I decided I was going to do the hardcore run, right? So I was trying the hardcore run. And so the raids, obviously, you would think would be a big part of that. So everyone were excited for the raids. But where I built my base, there's like a creek. And so on the other side of the creek, the raids will spawn. And they'll run to the edge and then they'll like look at me.
It's
and
like
then they'll just stand there.
It's like Austin Powers. You know what he's in? He's in the steamroller, and he's like coming towards the guy, and he's like, "I'm coming," and you're like,
"Yep." Very slowly. And then they'll run all the way around, so I don't even worry about it. But then one of the times the raids happened and they spawned on this side. So the raid was starting, and I was like, I'm just not even going to pay attention. It's a raid. They're going to despawn anyway. But it spawned basically inside of the base and just about took me out. So I had to be kind of careful.
Yeah.
New islands, POWs, bosses, and technologies. I haven't completed what's already in the game. You 100% of the game? Like you done all the bosses and everything yet?
No way. No way. The game's huge. I get stuck exploring more than I do anything else. the game does a really good job, and this is like probably my one big thing that I love about it. Is did you ever play Elden Ring?
I played not all the way through. I actually just started playing that in 2023, about halfway through. I know.
I don't even know what to say about that.
It's one of those games I got to get to. It's the same way like I started playing Diablo 2 last year also. Like there's a bunch of these like go-to games I still have to play.
So the game does a really good job at putting things off in the distance and making you go, what is that? And then you just go there.
Yeah, well, you're right about that, where it's like you see it, you can go there, with the exception of, from what I hear, the big tree. But everything else.
every great game has a big tree, man.
A gigantic tree in the background. I guess there's an invisible wall that you can't get there. But I know what you mean, because I saw on the map one time, there's like this, spoiler alert for people, there's this area that looked really rocky. I'm like, I'm going to fly over there. And then it says it's a space I'm like not allowed to be. I forgot exactly what it was. A sanctuary.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got like a wanted. Like I was like, "This is Grand Theft Auto. Like, what's going on?" And they were like mad at me for even trespassing or being there. And I got chased by these dudes all the way back. They're basically drowning themselves to walk into the water in order to get to me.
Did you not notice that if you try to just like take out some of like just the random villagers, like people that are like camping on the road or whatever? And I'm not talking about like the PAL police or whatever those other guys are. Yeah. If you just like try to take any of those out or capture them or whatever, like they'll spawn guards and you'll get a wanted level.
Yeah, you'll get a wanted and then you're like kind of boned. Like that happened to me on the very first time I played the game. Me and my friend Kyra were just messing around and we had wanted, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to fight back. I was getting like wanted 2x now. Yeah. And I was like, there's not like, what am I supposed to do? I couldn't get him to despawn. They just chased me until I died.
I know, like, I understand that like a lot of people have problems with how much the game takes, we'll say, creative liberty with other franchises. And but the funny thing is that like it all fits together to be just like a really fun and goofy time that you're having with friends, or even playing it by yourself. Like I love playing the game by myself.
It's like one of those bootleg knockoff DVDs you get off the street that is not the actual movie, but you're like, this is still a good movie regardless.
Yeah. You ever seen like Samurai Cop?
No, I don't think I've seen Samurai Cop.
Yeah, you should watch that.
All right, on the to-do list. I need the new game. But the early access roadmap, it's kind of cool to see they're continuing. Because my one concern with it is like, I really like this game. I hope it's not an Among Us situation. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's really hype at the moment, it's a new thing, and then in a month it's kind of like, well, everyone forgets about it.
I think we don't have to really worry about it being an Among Us situation, because Among Us is a very one-dimensional game.
Very true.
Right? And there's all kinds of different ways to play Palworld. You know what I mean? Like you could be the guy that's building bases. You could be the guy that's trying to do boss fights. You could have, 1 or 2 players or 4 players or 32. This game ultimately is going to come down to whether or not they support it.
And I agree. And I would add on interaction between players is a big part of it. Because it's like you might have all these cool servers where you can all go on the servers, but if there's no point really to be playing together other than increasing the progress of people by having multiple people gathering resources, doesn't really make a lot of sense, which I guess is really what comes back to PvP raid bosses, PAL Arena.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to see trading too.
Trading? So you want to like get a PAL, buff him up, like enhance him, soul palette, all that, get the right skill, fruits on him, etc., and then be like, I'll trade my big fat llama for your giant fat bird or whatever.
Yeah, I got a big old chicken. You want it?
That'd be pretty fun.
Have you gotten into breeding yet?
No, not there quite yet. I'm like level 23 or something. I mean, I'm not massively far into the game.
You'll know once you get into that and you realize that there's a whole meta game for breeding and getting like the perfect substats, the perfect passives. How there's I think there's even monsters that you can only get from breeding, like
crossbreed type situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you want to make like an ice dragon? Well, just breed this and bam. Now you get like, because some of them will have a modifier that'll say Christ, or I can't remember what the fire one is. Terra is earth. So you could have a Terra deer. So like, I can't pronounce the name of it. The big purple deer. You can get an earth version of that.
Okay. So, I mean, that would be a situation. Well, I hope then with the breeding I don't know how in depth it is because I haven't got there, but is it the type of situation where you can, if you continually breed them, you can eventually get to the point where they're like stronger and stronger and you get the right ones and then...
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll give you a good example, and the reason why most people are going to want to get into the breeding aspect of Palworld is once you get a flying mount, right? You get like the mount for a flying one of the flying creatures. You want to breed them so that they have like runner and swift, because those two passives that are rare, by the way, but those two passives are movement speed.
Oh.
If both of those are on that flying mount, that thing is zooming.
Okay, so there's actually reasons to have certain passives. I know there's like negative passives too. Like the Relaxosaurus I caught had gluttonous, where
he's eating everything.
He wouldn't stop eating all my berries.
This game is incredibly deceptive in that it doesn't really show like how many other layers of complexity the game actually has. Because once you really start getting into it and like playing it a lot, you realize like, okay, so these are the monsters that I'm going to have, and I'm going to optimize them just for exploration. These ones are going to be for fighting. These ones are going to be for crafting and farming. And then that's when like the game really opens up for you.
It seems like you've gotten a lot farther than I have. I know you've been making videos on this one as well, right?
Yeah, I grind.
I'm grinding it. So where can the people find your videos? Why don't you do a little plug here at the end of this and let people know where you can find and what you have upcoming?
You can find me at Legendary Drops on YouTube. And I'm also on Twitch at Legendary_Drops on Twitch.
And you're streaming Palworlds.
Yeah. And Baldur's Gate and a bunch of other things.
All right. And we'll put a link in the description down there for the channels as well. Get your channels and we'll put them down there, and you guys can find Mr. Drops, as I will refer to you as. And man, I think that Palworld, in my own personal opinion, is probably my favorite game of 2024 so far. That doesn't say a lot because we're 26 days in the year, to be fair, but I think that that's probably going to hold true for a while, as long as these updates keep coming, says the future.
Before we end, what is your favorite thing about the game? Like, why do you like it so much?
Good question. So I like it because it's simple, but it has depth behind the simplicity, and it's to the point where you can get into it without it feeling overwhelming. But as you get into it, it's learned fairly naturally. So like things work the way I would think they would work without the game having to explain it. Like I haven't really read any of the survival stuff. The only thing I had to use for the survival guide was to know what beats what, basically.
Yeah.
You know, like dragon or dark or whatever beats neutral. So then those are like, okay, well, I mean, this is sort of a formula I'm going to have to memorize. But everything else is like, okay, that makes sense. The water guy does the water, and it's all really easily laid out. There's a bunch of memes in it too. They're pretty good. Like there's a adventurer that says has a wounded knee. And it was like, I used to be, a trainer like you or whatever the line was until I took an arrow to the knee type stuff. So you get references, like you're saying, it's like all the different bits of these games kind of come together to make like a giant meme game. But that into the design, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole of like listening to things like, but also the design of the pals in terms of their simplicity again. Like some of the things I hate about Pokemon was the last one I played. I was walking. This is when I rage quit Pokemon and stopped playing. Is I was walking down an alleyway and it was like dun 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 dun. I'm like, oh, let's go, baby! Like it's time for a new one. And it's like a Pokemon jumps out at you, and it's like it's Trashomon, and it's like literally a trash bag. Like it's just a trash bag.
Yeah, I can just imagine the dude in the office. He's just like, hey, I got to design a new Pokemon today, man. I'm like, he's just looking around, just sees the garbage can, and he's like, I got it.
That's a Pokemon. Hey, it's I don't get it. It's like, bro, are you trying to say your Pokemon's trash? Because like this one is, I know. And then the next one was an ice cream cone, and I was like, I'm not about it. How about you? That's a good way to wrap it up. How about you?
So actually, the funny thing is, I'm right there with you. Palworld has a really unique way that it approaches crafting, build to craft, that kind of thing, which is funny enough, one of the barriers to entry for most people to play survival games. And they took it and made it a unique thing where you can just have the pals do it for you. So not only did they like lower that barrier of entry, but they actually made it a game mechanic so that, people have an easier time getting into it. I think that's largely one of the reasons why the game's so popular to begin with, is because it's instead about like building and optimizing your base, like most games like this are, it's more about the monsters and then using them to optimize the base.
It's actually a great point because I played Enshrouded like 2 hours. And then I stopped playing and started playing Palworld again because it's like do this and then do this and then do this. But every time I was doing the thing, it was me having to do it. So it'd be like, go get tar, go get 50 tars. And it's like, I kind of just don't want to. Like, I kind of don't want to do that. So I'm not going to do that. And Shrouded actually seems like a good game from what I can tell. It seems like it's fun.
Yeah, I've been
But
having fun with it.
I hit this point where it's like, I just don't want to collect these things. I want to go collect other things. And so I went and did that in Palworld, and then, the POWs basically do it for you. The automation part of it's actually, that's a really good call out. I think that's,
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things. I mean, it's such a good question because I keep going down like, well, I like this and well, I like this. And well, then the boss fights are like pretty
Boss
well
fights
done.
are sick. Boss fights are sick.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I was not expecting, when I fought that first tower boss, I was like, what is this?
No, it's unexpected, and then the cutscene is like, oh, this is actually good. It reminded me of Destiny, the layout. You had like all these like spiked towers and stuff on the inside. I'm like, oh, this is kind of looks like Destiny in a little bit of a way. And you're kind of locked in there. It's like, I'm not locked in with you, you're locked in with me type situation where it's beat it or die basically. And then you have a time limit, so it's sort of a DPS check too. So you want to make sure you're strong. Now there's a lot. And plus the towers, like the fast teleport is super nice. So it's one of the things I liked about Enshrouded was like you can just warp back to your base. So having the quality of life to be able to like go to the tower and go back, but still balanced. So I just don't warp back at any time. The weight seems like enough where it's like I can carry enough things. But also it doesn't make me feel overpowered. I can just carry everything and then just be done in one run. So, but like I say, I'm going to get bathed into going down a list of just things I actually like about the game.
I think the teleportation and exploration is sick. I love being able to just like, especially once you figure out that you can basically place like a base at like a node that you want to farm.
Exactly.
And then you can just teleport between the two bases that you made once you've leveled up your base enough. I love it, dude. Love it.
Pretty good. So I'm looking forward to these updates because adding PvP elements and like raiding other people's bases and stuff is going to add a whole new element in the way that I feel like Rust PvP is adds a lot of like role play and video potential for the people that want to make like content and stuff. You see a lot of those like Rust videos. I don't know if you watch those at all, but like the Rust videos where they kind of break down the story of like invading the base and all that. So I'm kind of excited to see what's going on with that. But that's probably about it for this video, boys. Go check out Legendary Drops with all of the link, description, pin comment, all of the things. They'll be down there. Thanks for coming on, man. Any last comments, shout outs you want to do here at the last moment?
Nah, that's all good, man. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe.
All right. That's going to do it from us, boys. All right. Cheers.
All right.